G'day. Unfortunately, I'm unable to be with you in person today, but thanks to the wonders of modern technology, I can be there electronically. As some of you may already know, I didn't follow the traditional path to politics. My background is business, and my heart is with the wonderful mix of cultures that make up my Sydney electorate of Reid. As a businessman, I'm delighted to be part of a conference that is working towards a nationally consistent approach to the use of standards in regulation. I'd hazard a guess that I'm one of the few parliamentarians who can speak from experience on the benefits standards harmonisation has on reducing the regulatory burden and improving public policy outcomes and bettering trade outcomes. I had a lot of experience with regulation compliance over the 23 years I spent in my family's business before I entered politics. I've filled in forms for almost everything, from entertainment licences to DAs. And as a publican, I've also filled my share of beer glasses. One harmonisation battle I don't think we'll ever win is how we measure beer. Don't get me wrong, I love our culture and the different names we have for beer glasses, but let's face it, it can be straight up confusing. A schooner is 425 mils in most states, but almost non-existent in Victoria and Western Australia. In South Australia, a schooner is only 285 mils, known everywhere else as either a midi, a pot, a handle or a half pint. It's enough to confuse an interstate traveller at a pub even on a good day. I suppose we have to be thankful at least that back in the 70s, we now sell a beer in standard suites of glasses. One of my core interests as Assistant Minister for Industry, Innovation and Science is making sure that government stays out of the way of business. It's not only my personal ambition, it's central to our government's economic agenda and allowing Australians to succeed and prosper. Improving regulation and adopting international standards and risk assessments is central to cutting the business burden because it reduces need for unique Australian standards. In turn, this approach reduces costs and the delays for business, allowing regulatory authorities to look at higher priorities like compliance. It's an Australian government principle that Australian regulators should not impose additional requirements if a system, service or product has been approved under a trusted international standard or risk assessment. You'd need to show good reason if you did. We acknowledge this principle in the National Innovation and Science Agenda and our regulatory reform agenda. It's also consistent with our World Trade Organisation obligations too. Your conference is an opportunity to build a nationally consistent approach to standards in regulations. My department has prepared a best practice guide to help regulators apply standards so that they facilitate trade, improve competitiveness, promote innovation, and are an effective tool for reform. We can now improve the flow of goods domestically and internationally by taking a single market approach to regulation. Our trade with the world was worth almost $670 billion in 2015. And in the March quarter just gone, net exports was the largest contributor and driver of growth in our economy. Improved coordination between regulators will improve the flow of goods for trade. Businesses and the community should not have to deal with multiple regulatory approaches to comply with what is often a common requirement. It's hard to comprehend that, in some industries, market access for new products is subject to securing regulatory approval in multiple jurisdictions. At the end of the day, Australian businesses and consumers are the ones that pay the price for poor and inconsistent application of regulation. An efficient and coherent regulatory environment can remove the artificial barriers created by differing interpretation of standards and help to build a smart economy based on knowledge and innovation. The challenge I lay down to you is to look at how you can use available resources to make it cheaper and easier for Australian businesses to operate across borders, whether those borders are domestic or international. The Australian government is reforming inefficient taxes and red tape. These cost our country around $176 billion a year. Already we've cut the regulatory burden by $4.8 billion since 2013. And we're going to build on this through our National Business Simplification Initiative. We know that often great business ideas and the growth plans of existing businesses stall because they have too many hoops to jump through. We want to make it simpler so that people wanting to create or expand a business can do it easily, regardless of whether they need to work with federal, state or local governments. We've begun talking to the states and territories about creating one-stop shops for government approvals. Streamlining approvals means that businesses can devote more time to developing new products, expanding into new markets, and most importantly, creating more jobs. As part of getting rid of duplication across different levels of government, we've offered to strike MOUs on deregulation priority areas with each state and territory. The government will continue to use initiatives like this conference to work with businesses and the states and territories to remove unnecessary regulatory barriers to productivity, innovation and growth. Government needs to be smarter about how they interact with industry. Simple, consistent and transparent solutions will push the economic productivity, which is so fundamentally important to a sustainable economy. Regulation must not be a barrier to trade and innovation. We can overcome language differences when it comes to buying and selling beer, but we need to talk the same language when it comes to interpreting and applying standards. I wish you all the best for a productive conference, because that will help make Australian business more productive. Have a great day.